Storm season is here, and even though the last couple of years have been calm, you can never let your guard down. When a hurricane hits, it destroys. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll show you how to get prepared before, during, and after the storm. Information that could save you and your family's life. This is CBS 12's Hurricane Ready 2010.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us. I'm Liz Kidantis.
I'm Kurt Fonger. Hurricane season is here, and for the next half hour, CBS 12 will be working for you, telling you everything you need to know to keep you and your family safe both before, during, and after a storm.
We begin with the question everyone has. Will South Florida be slammed with hurricanes this season, or will we be lucky and have a calm season like last year? CBS 12 Storm Track meteorologist John Matthews has the storm predictions for 2010.
I expect this season to be more active than it was last summer. That's because the El Nino winds are forecast to diminish, and that will allow more storm formation in the Atlantic. However, no one knows how that will affect Florida. It's a long 6-month season, going all the way to the end of November. We're not under a threat the entire summer and fall, as many storms form far from the U.S. Last year, no threats at all for South Florida. Yet the list of names looks mighty long. That list is recycled every 6 years with some names removed. Most aren't even hurricanes, just tropical storms that have the possibility of growing stronger. The storms affect Spanish as well as French-speaking Caribbean islands, so lots of different names. One important feature is the sea surface temperature. As the Atlantic warms, the storms start forming. Last year, there were 3 hurricanes in the Atlantic, half the normal number.
We're facing a season that could rank among the more active on record. 14 to 23 named storms, and of those, 3 to 7 could become major hurricanes at categories 3, 4, or 5.
As the Atlantic heats up more and more, storms form farther out to sea. By late summer, they're closer to Africa. Then, late in the season, we see them form closer to home. The peak of the season is September. No matter what forms, we always have to be on guard here in subtropical Florida, so it's best to be steadily preparing for such a storm. And Eric Roby shows us how to do that if you're on a budget.
John, I'm right where you need to be to get prepared for hurricane season. We're in Home Depot, and I wanted to shed some light on how you can save some money this year. Especially with the flashlights, you have a selection. This is a great deal. It's only $4, and normally the battery alone will cost you more than that. If you want to plunk down some more money, this lantern is fluorescent, and it goes for $25. Now, the reason why this is going to save you money is that in the long run, you're going to be buying a lot less batteries. And speaking of batteries, buying in bulk is going to save you a ton. If you pick up 8 double A's, that's going to cost you about 75 cents per battery. But if you pick up a 60-pack, we found these for only 15 cents per battery. And if you're worried about all those going bad before you can use them, don't. The shelf life is 7 years. If you want something with more juice, try a generator. The prices run the gamut, but expect to pay at least $400. And here's a secret. The closer a storm comes to our area, the more generators Home Depot is going to ship in. And that's when you might find the best deal. If you don't have hurricane shutters, then you're probably going to need plywood to protect your house. Now, you can buy half-inch plywood, which is the cheapest, but it's probably not going to protect your windows. It's suggested you go ahead and buy the much thicker 3/4 inch, even though this is going to cost you 30% more. A good way to start stocking up on all the food and water before a storm is to do it over a long period of time. That way you can start looking for the best deals. Look at this. You could save $2 if you buy 2 packs of water. So there really is no reason, if you start planning now, that you can't be stocked up for the next storm and still save. Now back to you.
Thanks, Eric. Finding shelter from a hurricane is another top priority, and it's even more of a challenge if you have medical issues. So here's what you should be thinking about. First and foremost, decide if your home will be safe in a hurricane. Then think about any special needs you or your family might have. Will you have enough medication if it's difficult to get to the pharmacy for a week or even 2 weeks? If not, stock up on some extra supplies. That applies to your service animals as well. Don't forget to renew your prescriptions to make sure they don't lapse either during or after a hurricane. Then ask yourself, can you survive without power for an extended period of time? If you can't, go to a Red Cross shelter. Many take service animals and can assist people who need slightly more than just basic needs. If you need extra attention, a special needs shelter may be your best option. But this is not a last-minute decision. you need to pre-register with the county right now. Also, talk to your doctor ahead of time to decide if your home, a shelter, or a hospital is right for you.
But people get overwhelmed. They get overwhelmed. There's just too many things to do, so they don't do anything. And that's, I guess, if I had to get one message out, is if you do something, you've done more than where you were before, and once you do a little bit, you can do a little bit more and a little bit more.
Now that you've taken care of yourself, it's time to start thinking about your animals. As CBS 12's Emily Pantelides shows us, planning ahead is key when it comes to finding a safe place for your pets.
Oh, those are nice and clean.
Dr. Jaffe has been a vet in Florida
Oh, Jeremy.
for more than 15 years.
I've seen more than a dozen hurricanes in my lifetime.
Needless to say, he's also seen people make bad decisions in the heat of the storm with their pets. This year, he wants you to be informed and know the steps to take now to protect your pet.
Well, first and foremost, you have to have a secure facility.
The only way to make sure your pet is really secure is to keep your animal with you. So first option, go to a pet-friendly relative or friend's house that's out of the evacuation area. If that doesn't work, the next best place to go is a pet-friendly hotel out of the evacuation area. And if that doesn't work for you either, find a pet-friendly emergency shelter in your area. Your number one priority, according to the experts, is not to be separated from your pet. If you're safe, they're safe. Now let's talk about your pet disaster kit. You need a 14-day supply of food and water in non-breakable containers. A leash and collar, and the comforts of home also help, like a blanket, maybe a favorite toy.
A couple other things you should have in your pet disaster kit. Don't forget your dog or cat's medicines and make sure they're in a waterproof container like this one. Also, their medical records. Put those in a Ziploc bag or something where water can't get to those.
Dr. Jaffe says follow these tips now and you can help save your animals later.
Each year, we stock up on plywood and bring out the hurricane shutters to protect our homes from wind and blowing debris. But a new threat could be looming right next door. Thousands of local homes sitting in foreclosure and falling into disrepair. Our Allison Bybee found out what can be done to protect your home.
For 2 years, this has been the view from Ricky Rodriguez's home.
So it's probably been abandoned over 2 years.
This Port St. Lucie home, barely lived in, now an eyesore.
The yard was overgrown and, it just wasn't taken care of.
It's kind of tore up. There's a lot of holes in the walls.
Karen Masheka sees the same thing every day. This home on Port St. Lucie Boulevard sits empty.
I don't like it because, it's not safe. I don't think it's safe.
And safety a big concern when a hurricane blows in. Loose debris, lawn chairs, and open windows on abandoned homes, a nightmare for next-door neighbors.
And here's just one of those empty homes here in Port St. Lucie. Sitting outside, this wood left over. This is the stuff that neighbors are nervous about.
The key is communication.
Ron Kaniuk is a foreclosure attorney. He says if this is your neighbor, act now.
If somebody knows that the house is already abandoned, I would suggest that they take action now.
Kaniuk says contact your city or HOA if you are nervous about the home. Double check your insurance policy. And while you can't legally trespass, there is a doctrine of self-help.
You're going to want to take action to protect yourself, your neighbors. Tying it down isn't going to be the worst thing in the world.
For Ricky Rodriguez, he plans on taking extra precautions with this home now.
I definitely would. I would because I think it's going to benefit the entire community, not just my home, but the entire community. You don't want it flying around the neighborhood. It could hit someone else's home.
He says he has no problem securing someone else's property if it will save his home in the end. In Port St. Lucie, I'm Allison Bybee.
While we're talking about home protection, this is a good time to get out your insurance policy and make sure your coverage is up to date. Your policy should include any improvements you've made to your home, and it should cover the total cost of rebuilding. And remember, most companies will not let you open a new policy if a named storm is bearing down on our area. Also, most policies do not cover flood damage, so you might want to think about buying coverage through the National Flood Insurance Program. We're just scratching the surface of our hurricane-ready coverage. Coming up, changes to the watch and warning system take effect this year. Knowing when to evacuate could make the difference between life and death.
Plus, if a hurricane barrels through and damages your home, what next? It may seem overwhelming, but there are steps you need to take right away to make rebuilding much easier.